Hi, my name's Jaimee and I'm 17 years old and I just graduated high school. I'm hoping to go to university next year and study biomedicine. My favourite book series is Harry Potter and that's because it's amazing. Couldn't beat Harry Potter. On a Sunday you can usually find me studying at my grandma's house, so usually with a maths book in front of me or watching some friends or just kicking back. My mum's from Australia, my dad is from Uruguay. He moved here when he was 15. So I've been back to Uruguay about 5 times and I speak Spanish and I have a lot of cousins over there. I would identify myself as a lesbian, and I think I started realising that when I was about 13, so I was in year 8. And basically I just started seeing girls in a way that I wanted to get closer with. I had a massive crush on Pink, the singer, when I was 13, and I went to a concert and I just thought, you're really cool, let's hang out, but it's Pink, so I didn't. When I started year 9 and I was a bit older, I started realising that not everyone felt the same way, and my friends didn't see it the same way, and they were all off chasing boys, whereas I had no interest in dating or what that cute boy said about me or the fact that there is a new guy at our school. I started realising that I did actually have crushes on girls and I wanted to be in relationships with girls, and that's when I realised that I was a lesbian. It was very confusing for me because I didn't understand why I felt that way and other people didn't, or I didn't know whether or not I was allowed to feel that way. Is it okay to think about people like that, or want to just spend more time with one person? And I think that did have a lot to do with the fact that it wasn't normal, seen as normal to date girls, and that was pretty hard for me to kind of come to terms with the fact that I wasn't like the girl sitting next to me, and I was going to have some tough years ahead of me. I've been out of the closet, I guess, for 4 years now, and still every time I meet someone new and I have to say I'm a lesbian, I find I stumble over the words, or I start breathing heavily because it's still hard to tell people. I think the fear for coming out came from the fact that hearing about lesbian or gay or trans people had never been talked about in a positive light in year 7 or 8. And it had always been, don't be such a leso, or that's so gay. That fear came from my friends aren't going to look at me well when I tell them that I like girls and I am what everyone else kept saying was so bad. That really scared me because I'd heard so many people say so many horrible things, and I thought, wow, they're going to think that about me. And that made me feel quite anxious at the time because I felt like I was holding in this big secret and I couldn't talk to anyone about it for the fear of being shunned. I did try to hide a bit when I was first coming out. I definitely made it look like I had crushes on boys and that I had feelings for them so that everyone would think that I was normal. And I think I definitely overplayed that at times. So I'd make up, I definitely have a crush on this guy and I want to date him, and can you ask him if he likes me, and that sort of thing, just so it would be so obvious that I'm not gay. That felt really awkward to kind of have to force something that everyone else was doing so easily. I did feel a little bit unsafe in school, not physically but emotionally, and I felt disconnected from people, and I was worried about being isolated in school and losing friends and that sort of thing. When I first came out, I had a few girls that were worried that I would have a crush on them or want to date them, and that came to a point where people wouldn't invite me to their parties because the lesbian will be there and she will look at us, when we're in the pool and that sort of thing. And that was extremely hurtful. And just imagine if someone was saying that you were gross because of the way that you were born or because of the sort of things that you like. And it can be very, very hurtful. Even the smallest comment could stay with someone all day or all month and really just attack them emotionally. Just because you're gay, it doesn't make you any different from anyone else. You're not gonna all of a sudden, want to look at people and abuse their rights or anything like that. All it means is that you like to date girls. I think people just really need to realise that it doesn't change who you are at all. So some people think that if you play sport, that automatically makes you a lesbian. And I can tell you that I played soccer, I played tennis, I played basketball, and yes, I'm a lesbian. But there were 5 or 6 other people on all of those teams that definitely were not lesbians. What sport you play and how you dress definitely does not tell people who you want to date. People think that when you open up to them and you do tell them about your same-sex relationship, that they can go ahead and ask you really intimate questions that you won't feel comfortable answering. So that includes how do you have sex, or how does it work, and that sort of thing, which isn't it isn't appropriate to ask someone same-sex relationships deserve just as much respect as heterosexual ones, and you need to treat them with the same respect. I don't think the feelings that I had were any different to what a heterosexual person would feel about a girl or a boy. I think it's very normal at that age to want to experiment with people, and I think what I felt is exactly the same as what everyone else was feeling, just about different people. For a couple of months I didn't really talk to anyone about it and I was so scared. And I did hop on Google, and the first thing I did was look up the Minus website, and I jumped onto the forum. I put an anonymous name so no one would be able to identify me, and I just started reading things that other people were going through, and hearing other people's stories was really great. And then I just started realising that this was okay and that it was normal. There are a lot of people that were going through the same thing as me. It was just kind of reaffirming to know that I could get through it and I could come out and it would all be okay. I think a really good thing before I came out to have happened would be for my friends to kind of have that conversation where they tell you, I will love you no matter what. It's not hard to have that conversation with your friends. I think the issue is that people don't want other people to think things about them just because they have that conversation. I think we really just need to break those stereotypes and be able to talk openly about being gay and identifying differently. When someone comes out to you, I think you need to just tell them, I'm going to be a friend no matter what, nothing changes this. So if you're a young person and you're watching this and you think that you're feeling the way that I felt when I was in year 8 and 9, I think the best thing to do is to surround yourself with positive people that will love you no matter what. I think definitely go about finding an adult, an uncle, an auntie, your mum, a teacher that you trust, that you can go to no matter what happens. The truth is, I'm just a 17-year-old girl who wants to be a doctor, and I want to get married someday and have kids. And I get really grumpy when I'm stressed, and I like to spend time with my grandma. And I also happen to like girls, but I'm just me.